beautiful creatures, welcome to our mini-series, our wrap-up of 2022, our top 5s of 2022, whatever you want to call it. We've just taken a break because the camera died and I needed a micro nap when my eyes are open, apparently. I don't know. Let's get into this. So this video is going to be our top 5 guests of 2022. As you guys know, we've been to quite a lot of conventions. A lot. You should go and check them out because they are really good, especially for the love of horror one. Yes. That was one of our best ones.
That was the best one.
That was the best one. However, we are now going to show you our top 5 guests. So I've got my version, Gareth's got his own version. We like to see if we can kind of match them together. We also like to see how controversial they are. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number 5. Da, 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 da.
David Arquette.
Darren Morfitt. He made me cry. I loved him so much. If you don't know who Darren Morfitt is, he is Spoon from...
Spoon, for those who don't speak in Scottish.
Dog Soldiers. Yes, he is Spoon from Dog Soldiers. I just loved him. I wanted to adopt him and I wanted to take him home because he was just that humble and that wonderful. It was actually for you, really, wasn't it? I ran out of money because I'm a poor little soul. Feel for me. Join my Patreon. Give me money.
We're not that kind of channel.
We are not that kind of channel. Do what you want. I'm not your dad. So I'd actually ran out of money, so I couldn't get an autograph with Darren Morfitt. However, Gareth was kind enough to let me stand with him whilst he spoke to Darren Morfitt.
I was going to let you stand with me anyway.
Yeah, I know, but it was your experience, but I really appreciated it. And hopefully he'll come back to another con. But honestly, he was absolutely wonderful. Didn't touch my face. It was all consensual, I promise. So my eyes, they're very red, and he couldn't comprehend how they were so red. So he was like, you do a better impression of it.
He was like, are they contact lenses? Can I touch your face? That's weird.
Yeah. He was like, imagine seeing that on the tube. And I was just like, well, I've never really thought about it, but sure, Darren, let you do you. But honestly, he was perfect. Explain.
With David Arquette, so David was amazing. Just lovely, humble, funny. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't put it in any better words.
We have been very fortunate with the guests we've picked to meet.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, 9 times out of 10, they've had time, they've been considerate, they've been welcoming. David Arquette was, you know, no exception. Like, he was one of the bigger guests as well, so you would...
And last minute.
So you would expect him to be like, boom, 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 but no, he was very accommodating, he was lovely, chatted to you about wrestling, didn't he?
He's even, and I always appreciate this when a guest is stood up, because then you're talking to them more on an equal playing field. You're not hiding behind a desk. Well, David was stood up in front of his desk. Yeah. Which is even cooler. But no, it was amazing. And we saw some part of his talk as well. And Bozo the Clown.
It was very cute. It nearly made me cry. But yes, David Arquette was wonderful. Yeah. These are guests that we've picked very carefully as people we think that you guys, you'd most benefit from meeting as well. From our personal experience, we never want it to be a case of we'd have a terrible experience and we'd lie to you and say, no, it was the best thing ever. That's not what we do. I would like to do a couple of special mentions at the end, just because we've only got 5. Like, it was very tricky for us to do, and that's what the challenge. But yeah, I would like to do some honourable mentions, if you will. But shall we go on to number 4?
Yes.
Number 4, da 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 da. David Howard Thornton.
Darren Morfitt.
Clinkies. Well, not really, but the other one, Clinkies.
So I'll just say Darren Morfitt for all the reasons already mentioned.
Yes. David Howard Thornton was something else. So I actually had my photo up with him as Art the Clown, which I'll put up here. He's terrifying. He's absolutely horrifying. And I went up to him and I said, right, I'll be honest with you, mate. I love you to pieces, but you scare the out of me. And he just went, oh, you. And he was wonderful. He was so nice to meet. I made him a needle felted pumpkin using the Art the Clown colours, and I'd like put a smatter of blood on it, and he loved it. He kept it on his table all day whilst he was signing, and honestly that meant so much to me. And every single time I put something up on Instagram, he's always like commented or liked it, and he's always messaged me back, and we've had a little back and forth. And we've
heard loads of stories of David that he does a lot of interviews with smaller YouTube channels.
I would really like to do an interview with you, David. That was really creepy. Don't really hope he's not watching this. No, that was awful.
But if he is,
please. I'd love to know what goes on in your mind to create such a horrific character.
And when he was in his talk as well, again hosted by Ben, great job. You were fangirling all the way through, we could tell, and no surprises.
How do you make such a horrific character? Probably all the bullying from middle school.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt that on a spiritual level. Trust me, if I could be a horror character, yep, that's where all the trauma would go. But honestly, if you have the opportunity to meet David Howard Thornton, please do, because he's an absolute gem. He's worked so hard with this character. They all have. Yeah. The Terrifier crew have worked so hard to get it on the map, to make Art the Clown the horror icon he is. Please just give it time of day, because it's such an incredible franchise. If you've got a weak stomach though, yeah. Yeah.
You still need to upload that scene.
Yes, so I am going to do a Terrifier review. I just didn't want to oversaturate the market, because like everybody seemed to be doing a review, so I will be doing a couple of reviews in the new year. And number three is
Bruce Campbell.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Ooh.
I'll be honest with you, Bruce Campbell isn't in my list. I'll tell you why.
Ooh.
No, I'll tell you why. He was my honourable mention, just because, and you'll probably say about this, he was chock-a-block. He had so many people to get through, and because of that, and because he's a well-rounded con-goer in America, he knows how to get through people. He was wonderful, he was accommodating, however, it was incredibly quick. And since then, we've had a lot of guest interactions where we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled relentlessly. However, I like to think the fact that I've got him on my arm in permanent ink means something. So Bruce Campbell, whilst he is special, I would kill for that man. He's not in my list.
Well, I put him in because it's for us in the UK, it's a very rare opportunity to meet Bruce.
Yeah.
We've got more, for me personally, we've got more chances of meeting Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Because he's only a few hundred miles away in Denmark.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to have that opportunity to meet Bruce, and even then, he still had time for everyone. He had a bit of banter with us. He wanted to know where we were from.
Yeah, he did.
We can't repeat it because there was swearing. But,
yeah.
And then the story you told me of how he was with you at the photo op.
I completely agree. See, now, like, I'm regretting everything about this list, but I'm not at the same time. He was on another level. If you expect Bruce Campbell to be a cool cat, he's like a laid-back jaguar. Like, he's just... So I went to do my photo op and I said, look, please may I hug you? And he was like, do what you gotta do, baby. Yes.
But Mads Mikkelsen.
My honourable mention goes to Bruce Campbell. But Mads was, honestly, he was on another level. Like, I adored that man to pieces. He is my Hannibal Lecter. Don't get me wrong. Anthony Hopkins does a phenomenal job, but I've got a less likelihood of meeting Anthony Hopkins than I have Mads Mikkelsen. He was so accommodating. He listened to what I had to say to him. So during the pandemic, I went to work in a hospital and I saw some not very nice things. And to get through it, I thought, just be like Hannibal. Just be like Hannibal. He wouldn't let this faze him. And that made him really laugh. And he was like, you know, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that. I asked him what his favourite, like, the most messed up scene he thought was. It was the one where this crazed, like, serial killer had put his social worker in a horse. Spoiler alert, but it's been out for a while. But he was wonderful. His talk was amazing. Like, even some of the cringier questions, he was very accommodating for it, and he was such a gentleman and very well spoken. His hands were really soft. He has really big hands, and he was wonderful in the photo op as well. So yeah, Mads Mikkelsen, I have to say, was up there for me.
Yeah.
Number two. Da 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 da.
David Tennant.
Jamie Campbell Bower.
Ooh.
Go on. I know who your number one's going to be.
I've got an idea who your number one's going to be.
Okay, go on then.
The reason why I put David Tennant on number 2 is because I've wanted to meet David for many, many years. Many, many, many years. And we've seen him at different conventions.
Yes.
We've seen him at different conventions,
yes.
and this is the only time we felt ready to do it.
Yes.
And he was rammed. Absolutely rammed.
Yeah, he was.
Probably because of London Comic Con overselling and thinking, oh, it's David Tennant, we'll put more on and more on, we'll get more money. But we managed to meet him, and he was so accommodating. He had time for everybody. He listened to my thank you about him providing the escapism for me when I was having a terrible time in high school.
If anybody's watching this who bullied Gareth, I will find you. I will skin you alive. I will cut your head off and put it outside our house.
It'll probably get stolen.
Yeah, it will. Where we live. Oh, if they steal anything.
Yeah.
But I will kill you. Please continue.
But yeah, it was a dream to meet David Tennant. Absolute dream. But my number one, for obvious reasons, will become clear.
Jamie Campbell Bower was a dream. I loved him. We got to chat to him for a good 15 minutes, and I'll tell you why. Our timing, thank you to this one, is impeccable.
I wake her up in the morning.
It's not an easy task, I'm telling you. Also, I got a message from someone on Instagram, and if it's you, hello, who said, you look like the type of person who'd kick a guy on his, like, genitals. And I don't know whether to take that as a positive or a negative. I'll take it as a positive.
It is a positive.
So we get up extremely early to go to these conventions. And that's the best way of doing it. You've got to plan, you've got to make sure you give yourself enough time, and by doing that, you have a better experience. Now, because we got in, we were some of the first to get in.
Yeah. Because with London, you've got to get virtual queue tickets.
So we ran straight up to Jamie Campbell Bower. Anyway.
He was next to David Tennant as well.
Yeah. But there was nobody there.
And Jamie was already at his table.
And not even the diamond passes were there. So we actually got to go in before the diamond passes, and the guy was just like, yeah, he's all yours. And we chatted to him for a good 15 minutes about Download, about his musical background,
about Stranger Things,
about his music. And honestly, he was just an absolute treasure. Like,
he reminded us so much of one of our friends.
Yeah, and he seemed to find, like, anything you were interested in and wanted to talk to you about it. And at the photo op as well, he was just so lovely. Again, I say, like, can I hug you? And he's like, absolutely you can, darling. And gave me the biggest squeeze ever.
The picture will prove it.
Yeah, I'll pop the picture here. And I just felt so, like, loved in that moment. Not in a creepy way, as in he was appreciative of the fans because they kind of put him in the place he is now, and he knows it, and he just, like, he was an angel. He was an absolute angel, and he was very accommodating again to the guests who pushed their luck a little bit. He was, you know, he did very well with that. He understood the hype, and, you know, it's not every day you get to cuddle Vecna and stuff like that, and he was just a national treasure. Number one.
Number one.
Da da la da da da. David Tennant.
Corey Taylor.
Damn it! Damn it! See, I feel like I regret everything, but I don't. Go on. Go on. I'll wallow.
It's not every day you're going to meet Corey Taylor from Slipknot. And he, as that we said in the convention video, the Monopoly have done it so well that if it's a really busy guest, Corey sold out, and you have time slots. Corey had, we'd say guests had time for everyone. Corey had time and then some. We were there for a good, I'd probably say at least 3 minutes.
I'd say more.
Probably a bit more talking, and he was so accommodating, so interested in what everyone had to say, and always had a laugh with people, and giving away that Slipknot were performing a download.
To be there live when he said, when he gave away that Slipknot were a download next year was peak entertainment. I asked him, I said, look mate, my guy, my G, when...
Probably not those words.
When they play, what is it?
Spit It Out.
Spit It Out. Does he really have to get everybody to crouch down for that long?
I would be remiss.
And the way he says remiss, honest to God, is it will stay in my head rent-free.
Watch the vlog. Watch the vlog.
I'll pop them all here. Like, he was a true gentleman and he was lovely. Even more accommodating in his photo op.
Yeah.
Like, he remembered me. Unfortunately, he's shorter than me. The problem with being a tall girl is that when you meet people, you'll
be fine if you ever meet Gwendolyn Christie.
He was very short, but all the power was in his head and his neck. It was just the proportion was interesting, but I have to agree with Gareth.
The biggest thing is his heart.
I can understand why he'd be a number one. David Tennant, however, like Gareth, God, I remember when my dad said, right, you need to watch this series. It's about this guy called the Doctor, and he travels through time and space. My first Doctor was Christopher Eccleston. But I'll never forget the day he regenerated and he became this strange, very attractive man, and he just flourished into this amazing character. And then seeing him again in multiple different roles, seeing him as Crowley, Barty Crouch Jr., amongst other roles, my heart has always like belonged to him. Like, I was obsessed with Doctor Who, and to just meet him and be in awe of him. But everything you said to him, he always had, like, you know, a fun quip, or he had a laugh. And again, he was so warm in his photo op. Like, because I said to him, I'm going to watch the Dennis Nielsen series. How much is it going to change my opinion of you? He's like, oh, it's not me. It's not me. And I was like, that's not what I mean, but okay. No, he was honestly wonderful, such a treasure. Yeah, I will have to say my honourable mention does go to Bruce Campbell.
My honourable mention is Roger Jackson.
He was great. He was great.
Roger Jackson, the voice of Ghostface and Mojo Jojo.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
We've met some really great guests. We have, and I don't know, maybe next year we might do a top 10. Just in the year, we might do this again next year with the guests that we meet next year, but I'd like to do a top 10 guests of all time we've met so far, because there are people that I've met from when I first started going to conventions that Gareth hasn't. So, for example, when I went to Wrexham for the first time, the In the Flesh cast were there, and they were amazing. They were honestly wonderful people. We've been very fortunate with the guests that we've wanted to meet, that everybody has been so accommodating. Sean Pertwee, David Norton,
the Burns twins,
Jamie Campbell-Bower, Damien Leone, Corey Taylor, Bruce Campbell, Dana De Lorenzo. We've met some wonderful people. Brad Dourif, you know, he is getting on in years, but he was just wonderful to meet, wonderful. When I did my autograph, I said, thank you for being a man that simultaneously made me terrified but made me cry my heart out because of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And he was just wonderful, because he was like, oh, we only want happy tears. And I was like, I never thought the voice of Chucky would say that to me. But yeah, we've met some incredible people, and if you do want us to do a more in-depth video on more of the guests we've met, then we absolutely will. We want to be very honest with you guys about these people. Like, I know, for example, that Zach Galligan
is hit and miss.
Is hit and miss. That's all I'll say on that, because we haven't met him. We haven't had a personal experience with him.
Well, we've heard stories.
However, we will be honest with you. So that's what we're kind of aiming for. But yeah, if you want a more in-depth video of maybe a top 10 or people we'd recommend and people we might not recommend. So far, we've got nobody we wouldn't recommend. Nobody, because everybody has been that brilliant with us. But yes, that's our top 5 of 2022. Let's see what 2023 brings. And now we're going to go on to our final video of our top 5 favourites of 2022. And then we're done for the year, folks. So we'll see you in the next one. Bye.